Welcome back. We are in the final weeks of the primary campaign season, and tonight we're launching our series of debates ahead of Election Day. New York 1 will be hosting debates in races for borough president, city controller, and mayor. Early voting begins in just 2 weeks on Saturday, June 14th, with the actual primary day on Tuesday, June 24th. Tonight we bring you a Democratic debate with the 3 candidates for Manhattan Borough President. Borough presidents have influence over land use and development projects. They also appoint members to community boards and other boards. Mark Levine currently holds the office, but he is running to become the next city controller. Tonight's candidates are State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel, who represents parts of the west side of Manhattan, City Councilman Keith Powers, who represents parts of the east side of Manhattan, and Calvin Sun is an emergency medicine physician who is here. The rules that you see on your screen right now have been agreed to by the candidates. They generally will have 60 seconds for opening statements, and then answers to my questions will also be limited to 60 seconds with time for short rebuttals. There will also be both a cross-examination round and a lightning round. You can see this debate in full at NY1.com or on the Spectrum News app at any time. And you can join the conversation using the hashtag NY1Debate. Now for opening statements. The order for tonight's opening statements was determined by a random drawing, and we will begin with Calvin Sun. Good evening.
Thank you, Errol. Thank you, New York 1. My name is Dr. Calvin Sun. I'm an emergency physician, and you're probably wondering, what is a doctor doing running for office? Isn't that something we leave to the lawyers? I'm a born and raised lifelong Manhattanite, and I not only lived through, but I worked through the pandemic fighting to save the lives of my patients, my neighbors, and my colleagues. I'm seeing it firsthand. Many are coming in not because of medical emergencies, but because they have nowhere else to go. Our hospitals have become de facto shelters. Housing is unaffordable. Every working day of my life is every New Yorker's worst day of their lives. My wife, Mel, and I, we just got married. We want to raise a family here in the only home we've ever known. But like so many, it feels like we're on a countdown to being priced out. Now, I didn't go to medical school to take care of policy failures as my patients, but I did take an oath to serve. And right now, I can't do my job unless something drastically changes. So yes, the city is sick. Manhattan needs to heal, and therefore it's about time a doctor runs for office.
Okay, thank you. Keith Powers is next.
Thank you, Errol, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. My name is City Council Member Keith Powers. It has been an honor and a privilege over the last 8 years to be serving the east side of Manhattan, which is a community where I was born and raised. And when I ran for city council and as borough president, my premise is that you shouldn't have to be a millionaire to live here in the greatest city on earth. And that's why I've been tackling the house's crisis here as a city council member and what I'll be doing as borough president. My record is strong. I saved thousands of units in Stuyvesant Town from losing their rent stabilization status. We saved hundreds of seniors in Waterside Plaza from losing their homes, and I helped lead the charge in the city council to pass a historic housing plan that will deliver tens of thousands of new homes to New Yorkers in every neighborhood. And as borough president, we also have to tackle a public safety crisis and a mental health crisis, and we have to bring back common sense, sensible solutions back to Manhattan so we can keep people safe and we can drive down affordability. That's why I'm running for borough president. I'm proud to be supported by Congressmember Adriano Espaillat, Congressmember Richie Torres, Congressmember Karen Maloney, and this week the New York League Conservation Voters, but hope to have your vote on June 24th.
Okay, thank you. And Brad Hoylman-Siegel.
Thank you, Errol. Good evening. Go Knicks. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel, and I'm running for Manhattan Borough President because we need an effective champion to fight Trump and to protect the borough. I've been doing that in Albany for the last 12 years, where I've passed over 370 bills. Look, I'm a public school parent, so I see a lot of the issues in this race through the eyes of my 2 young daughters, aged 7 and 14. When they're old enough, will they be able to afford the rent in Manhattan? Are they safe on the subways? Will they continue to have access to the greatest public schools, cultural institutions, and health care? I've worked on these issues and more, including getting illegal guns off our streets, protecting our immigrant neighbors, and fighting for tenants, including a rent freeze. I'm proud that I've been endorsed by former Borough President Gail Brewer, along with council members Eric Botcher and members of Congress Jerry Nadler and Dan Goldman, and State Senators Robert Jackson and Cordell Clear, and Planned Parenthood. I hope I can earn your support tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. Let's start by talking about land use. Under the city charter, the primary job of the borough president is to run the community boards, half of whose members are appointed by the borough president, and to play a leading role in the land use process. So let's talk about some of the key questions the next office holder will need to address. And I want to start with casinos. A state board later this year will be evaluating as many as 8 bids for casino licenses in the New York City region. 3 of them happen to be in Manhattan, one in Times Square, one on the far west side, one on the east side near the United Nations. Do you like any of these proposals? And if elected, how would you proceed? Let's start with you, Mr. Cowley.
Sure. Thank you for that. Look, when Albany authorized the casinos to come down here to New York City, they put this in this process where it's going to have a deep amount of community support. For me, community support, and it's a very high bar, you need to have deep community support in order to be able to move past go and to continue down this path. What I'm hearing from a lot of communities, whether it's on the west side or on the east side, is a lot of concern about it. While also recognizing there's good jobs in here, there's a lot of economic development, and also, frankly, there's proposals all over the city. It's not just in Manhattan. So to me, it's really important to get the community boards and the communities at the table, hear from them, and frankly, have a bar that's really high before we move forward on anyone in a really dense neighborhood. I think the borough president will have to play a really key role in making sure that that land use process, that community advisory process, and all the stakeholders goes effectively, and they're all at the table.
The site that they're talking about on the east side, is that in or adjacent to your district?
It's in my district, and there's a lot of concerns from the neighbors right now about the congestion that would be caused, about what a casino means for their lives, also recognizing there's housing on there and how to sort of address it. We're ready to get into our community advisory process, and I've been hearing clearly from my neighbors about their concerns, and we're going to look citywide as well.
Okay, Mr. Sun, what do you think?
Well, I know gambling's bad for your health, but you know what's even worse? Running out of money. Our city is an affordability crisis. We have a mass casualty in housing right now. We have a federal government looking to wage a vendetta against us. We need every revenue source possible, but we can make casinos smarter, raise a high bar to even gamble in the first place. There are plenty of other models of casinos across the world where there's accountability and doing gambling in a way that's safe for the local population. So ensuring that you don't have a history of addiction, that you understand that gambling can be bad for your health. Your family has rights to restrain you from gambling if there's any concern. But we have to do it in a way that's equitable so that everyone is ensuring that they have rights to gamble if they want to, but also generate that revenue to ensure that it's not hurting our fellow New Yorkers and ensure that we are moving forward together as a city on the same page.
Okay, Mr. Hoyman-Siegel.
Yeah, this may be an issue that I differ starkly with my colleagues here. I am 100% against a Manhattan casino. If you want a Manhattan casino, don't vote for me. They prey on addiction. They prey on our most vulnerable. And quality of life, the borough president is the chief quality of life officer for the borough. I haven't had a single constituent come up to me and say, Senator, let me have a casino in my neighborhood. It's not going to happen under my watch. I am opposed, and I'm making that clear tonight.
Not that I would ever try and change your mind, but Wynn Resorts, which pulled out of the Hudson Yards proposal,
thankfully,
estimated that they would have brought about 5,000 jobs to the city.
Well, it's a cost-benefit analysis. Look, who am I representing? I'm representing Manhattanites who live near and adjacent to casinos. And they know that the very sad story of the history of casinos. Find me a community member anywhere in the country who is actually happy to live next to a casino.
Can I yes. Albany legalized the casinos in the first place. You took a vote to support casinos in New York City. You never put guardrails in to say not Manhattan. This is like the classic Albany approach. It's like come down to New York City, tell everybody what they want to hear, get on the train, do the opposite. It's the problem we have on public safety right now is the talking out of both sides of the mouth. Why do we have casino? Why do we have no guardrails on Manhattan casinos in the first place? Where was that in the conversation when they authorized it?
We do have a guardrail. It's called the Community Advisory Council, and it requires 3/4 vote for a casino to be authorized. That is the guardrail that Senator Kruger and I put in place to ensure that there's not an East Side casino, there's not a West Side casino, that we defeat casinos in Manhattan. And again,
but I guess
I'm crystal clear, Errol. My opponent is not, and I think voters have to make a decision.
I'll be happy to clarify. You put a community advisory process in, and we're going to all go through that process. This is news because we're on the campaign trail that suddenly casinos in Manhattan are not the position of the state senator who voted on them in the first place, did not say no to
My position has been clear from the beginning.
It has not.
Unlike
frankly, it's just a good question. Like, why are we saying we don't want casinos in Manhattan? There was an opportunity
because of quality of life.
In the original,
because they prey on addiction.
I'm not disagreeing. I am not disagreeing with the points being made. What I'm disagreeing with is why we're hearing today not when they actually drafted the legislation. You were a voter on it. You were in the process. Why did you not? You take credit for a lot of things.
Queens wants a casino. Queens wants a casino, and if they want a casino, they can have
then why
it. Manhattan doesn't.
So then why?
And as
Okay,
Manhattan Borough President,
I just want to offer a commentary. This would be a theme, and the theme here is what people in Manhattan get every single day. They have the group of state legislators who say something down here when they want to hear the voters to hear exactly what they want to hear. Then they get on the train, they take Amtrak up to Albany, and they do something quite opposite. There was an opportunity to stop at Manhattan Casino if you wanted to do this months ago, over a year ago.
Okay,
and it didn't happen.
Other boroughs may want a casino. I know that Queens and my esteemed colleague John Liu wants a casino near the Mets park. So be it. But I'm saying here for the record that I do not want a casino in Manhattan. I will oppose a casino in Manhattan, and my opponents are not saying that.
And let's also clarify for the record, you voted for it knowing that wherever they ended up, you didn't want them in your district.
Of course, which is why we put a community advisory council in place so that elected officials like me and or their representatives could have their voice heard.
This is what we call talking out of both sides of your mouth.
No. Talking out of both sides of your mouth is when you don't give an answer to the voters as to whether you're for or against the
I am going through the process, and I have a lot of concerns about
that seems vague to me and indeterminate.
Well, you created the process. He says he'll follow the process.
And he's not saying whether he's going to vote for or against it.
And you know what? We're talking about land use and zoning, so let's talk about land use and zoning.
I'm happy to change the subject.
No, I'm happy to stay on the topic because...
Yeah, well, you know what? Let's move on. Let's move on. We've got legally mandated deadline to close Rikers Island in 2027. Unclear whether we'll make it. That's not the important point. What is important is that smaller neighborhood jails are being built that would be closer to the courts. That is part of the closure plan. I'll start with you, Mr. Sun. Do you support the plan for a facility in Chinatown?
No, I don't. I also don't support closing hospitals and building mega jails as the result. And I understand the need to close Rikers Island. It's a human rights violation. And I know there are temporary stopgaps in place to flatten the curve, but why punish vulnerable neighborhoods? There are plenty of other neighborhoods and areas that we could be more creative with that doesn't deprive of local populations who really will not be able to afford not only a closure of the local hospital, but the establishment of a mega jail right in their front yards, and that decreases the quality of life in the area. It's not about what you do, it's about how you do it, and I think we can be more creative in where those community-based jails go.
Okay, Mr. Powers.
Yeah, look, it's urgent that we close Rikers Island. I've been there for nearly another dozen times. I've walked in those facilities. The jail cells door open on their own. It's a security nightmare. They're outdated facilities. So we do need to get off of Rikers Island. We need to close it. It's a disaster. There are alternate proposals that I know the Chinatown community has been talking about that I'm looking at, and I want to take those really seriously to build a smaller facility and to look for alternatives to what's there today. Because I understand what the concerns are. It's like a mega facility. Frankly, also, we have to attend to the issues of what the changing population is in our jail census right now, and we have to look at the plan more comprehensively. There is the Littman Commission has been working on that. I value Judge Littman's work on that, but I do want to look at alternative proposals Chinatown the community has been asking for.
Okay, Mr.
Again, crystal clear. The jail in Chinatown that's proposed is a disaster for the local community. It's going to be the nation's largest jail. It's going to hurt small businesses. It's going to also decrease quality of life. It needs to be stopped in its tracks. I'm working with locals to consider an alternative location.
Which is exactly what I just said.
Let me ask you something, Errol. Why do neighborhoods like Chinatown, why are they the dumping grounds for jails? I don't see a jail proposal for the Upper East Side. I don't see a jail proposal for my neighborhood. It's truly unfair. And this is one of the jobs of the borough president that I'd like to emphasize. It's called equity. Neighborhoods need to take their fair share, but it doesn't make sense that, yet again, Chinatown is the dumping ground for a facility, an institution that's really going to harm the local neighborhood.
It's not because it's Chinatown, it's because it's adjacent to the courts. That's the idea.
That is one idea, but they're supposed to be community facilities. And so the idea that an alternative location was not proffered, to me, is objectionable on its face. And I'm going to work as borough president with the local Chinatown community and the local elected officials, who, by the way, all oppose this Chinatown jail, including Congressman Dan Goldman, who endorsed me, to find an alternative site.
Well, there's about 1,000 arrests a week in Manhattan. What's the alternative site?
Well, there's a federal building nearby that we're exploring as an alternative site. And the site, what is now being proposed for the Chinatown facility, could be converted into housing, much needed housing that, of course, Chinatown and every neighborhood.
But Errol, I
want
to jump in. The proposal we're talking about, the alternative proposal is the same proposal, so I just want to be clear about that, and we're both talking about that, so I'm not differing with the senator on that. I will say this. I can read you direct statements that the senator has made saying he doesn't believe that jail should exist in New York City at all, that decarceration is the only strategy. That is what we have gotten from Albany over the last 6 years. I'm happy to share you with the information. It's the last 6 years we've gotten this. Let's throw everyone back on the streets, have no plan. When New Yorkers started to respond, they finally got public safety measures put in place. It was Democrats like me who called on them to do it. And frankly, by the way, it was up to the governor to hold them without their paychecks for 2 months so they actually would get off their hands and do it. That's a far cry from what we're hearing right now.
Yeah, we're all Democrats here, Errol. I don't know why anyone is, parroting talking points from Fox News about decarceration. Here's the fact. Public safety is the top issue. The Rikers plan has been a slapdash, bungled operation, if you ask me. I support the closure of Rikers, but the rollout has been terrible, and it's hurting a vulnerable neighborhood that still hasn't recovered from COVID and needs our help, and needs the borough president's, frankly, muster to help readdress this issue.
Okay, candidates, we are going to take a short break. We've got more of this debate straight ahead. Stay with us.
My time at New York 1 has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Berger.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to our Democratic primary debate in the race for Manhattan Borough President. We turn now to our next topic, which is congestion pricing. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Hoylman-Siegel. In the first 100 days of the congestion pricing program, an estimated 6 million fewer cars drove into lower Manhattan compared with a year earlier. In March, the decrease was 80,000 cars per day, and the congestion zone traffic-related injuries have been cut in half. In your opinion, has the toll been beneficial, and are there any neighborhoods in the borough that are being negatively affected, and if so, how would you change the program?
I think it's been a resounding success, and I'm proud to have supported it early on, voted for it, worked on the issue in my professional career as a nonprofit lawyer. And it's not just cleaning the air and making traffic move more quickly. It is quite literally saving lives. And I think it's an example for the rest of the nation. Look, I have constituents who represent neighborhoods above 59th Street. Now they're asking me if they can have congestion pricing in their neighborhoods. I would actually consider working with the MTA and the governor in expanding the congestion pricing zone. But now to the impacts. There's no question that some small businesses, particularly in Chinatown, have been hurt. We need to study that and understand what the impact is, and we should consider a residential exemption. I've been testifying to that effect since congestion pricing was first rolled out. London had one. But that said, it has been a resounding success. The money is important, and the money is so important for accessibility. So we can build more elevators, because less than half of the MTA network is accessible for people with disabilities and parents with strollers.
Okay, Mr. Sun.
I'm a Manhattan boy. I don't drive. As a proud owner of a non-driver state ID, if you're telling me I have to walk more, I'm all for it. It's good for your health. And if you're telling me that our air quality is improving, the data shows that it's working, I'm not inhaling carcinogenic pollutions in my lungs, let's keep that going. But we can make it smarter. I'm advocating for a dynamic model of congestion pricing so New Yorkers have a chance to work together and gamify it so that we can not initiate a higher congestion pricing, surge pricing level, so we don't have to end up punishing all New Yorkers. That being said, we should also make exempt for congestion pricing any low-income New Yorkers, especially those who depend on their cars for their businesses, their jobs, and their medical appointments. And ensuring that it's more equitable, more safe, we can create more buy-in to continue that forward and generate more revenue for the city.
When you say dynamic pricing, you mean like less at 3 o'clock in the morning than at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Like what you have in Waze, like drivers working together and like everyone changing their driving habits. And it's like, you know what, I'm not taking my car in today because I don't want to initiate this higher level of congestion pricing. And there's like this gamifying reward benefit pathway, and they're like, you did it, no congestion pricing. And everybody wins.
Okay, Mr. Powers.
Thank you. I'm also a lifelong man. I do have a driver's license. So, but
not
look,
missing out.
it is working, and I'm hearing even people who were skeptical from the beginning supporting it because of the merits of it, whether it's air quality or traffic or moving our public transportation faster. I think we have to lean into bolder transportation options now. As part of my campaign, I'm riding every single bus in the borough to highlight the need for faster and more quicker buses. I rode the M14 busway to get here today. So let's go further. Let's go invest in our public transportation system. Let's make it easier to ground this whole borough, because frankly, I think it's a really big part of our system. So let's lean into it. I also wanted a residential exemption. I think Albany could have delivered on that. They didn't. We were calling for it in the city council to add to that. So I would love to see them go back in Albany and add something in to help those folks who might be have an income or small businesses to do that, but do exactly what we're talking about. And I think it is an instance where we can say it, but we have legislative powers. Let's go do it.
Okay. Candidate, it is now time for the cross-examination. That's when each candidate gets a chance to ask one question of one rival. We'll start with you, Mr. Sun.
This question goes to Brad, our most senior elected official in this room. First of all, thank you for your service, 13 years of your commitment to New Yorkers, your commitment to public service. As the newest guy in the room and new in this area, I'm genuinely curious that all those late nights working to pass those laws, those all-nighters you may have pulled in passing those bills, just like feels like medical school, and just to hear New Yorkers say, man, I feel like the city's heading the wrong direction and housing's unaffordable, I don't trust our government, and to say that, oh, elected officials are the ones to blame, they're the root cause. How do you process that? Like, was it worth it?
Well, thank you. I think it is worth it, Dr. Sun. I mean, being an elected official, in my opinion, is the honor of a lifetime. I think it's really important, though, to understand how people get to office. And I started on my block association. I'll never forget the woman, Vicki Poland, recruited me on 10th Street to join the block association. From there, I went to my local community board, where I served for 10 years and the chair for 3. And what I want to do as part of this office is to make sure that other young people have that opportunity. Who's going to be our next Hazel Dukes or Charlie Rangel or Virginia Key? There are so many young people who need to be engaged and involved in politics. Community boards are a wonderful place to start. But, you know, it's not easy, but no job is. People say you must be so busy. I'm like, well, you're a single mom and you've got 2 jobs now. You're probably busier than me. So an honor, truly. But it comes with a lot of work and effort, but truly making certain that Manhattan is representative of its people is really important.
Mr. Powers.
Thank you. I will follow Dr. Sun's lead. I'll ask the senator a question in similar vein. I do think New Yorkers are saying that New York City is on the wrong track. Every single poll reflects that. And most of the blame is located in Albany, where people have complained about the public safety laws that have now, the bail laws that have been amended 3 times, the discovery laws that have been left open for far too long, a mental health system that's been disinvested in, still don't have a dangerousness standard around people that are the most dangerous criminals here. It's clear Albany has really, to me, betrayed the public safety of New York City and Manhattan residents.
Question.
I guess the question is, will you apologize to the New Yorkers for that? And simply, do you ever regret for taking the votes that you took that made New Yorkers less safe?
Well, once again, I mean, we're talking about Fox News here, but I'm assuming my opponent. My opponent is a Democrat. Look, Albany has moved 3 times to address bail, and has recently fixed our discovery law, and has recently moved to expand the definition of involuntary commitment. Public safety is top of mind. But my leader, Andre Stewart Cousins, we govern with data. And every year when we make a decision based on public safety, we look at that information. Believe me, public safety is top of mind for me. I have a 14-year-old daughter who takes the subway by herself every weekday. I'm very proud of her. But recently, you know, we've witnessed some really sad, depressing, and frankly scary things on our MTA. That's why I want to get more capital dollars. That's why mental health has to be top of mind for any elected official. That's why we need clinicians to join with officers on the platforms to help people who are struggling with mental illness. That's why we need more cameras and more cops.
Your turn to ask a question.
Yes, I'd like to ask Dr. Sun a question. You know, we've read about Margaret Carpenter. She's an upstate physician who was indicted by a Louisiana grand jury for prescribing abortion medication. We've worked in Albany to create a shield law to protect physicians from that very fact. So the medication is anonymous, and that doctors and families that are seeking either abortion care or gender-affirming care are protected from outside prosecution. I wanted to know if you had other ideas in that regard, and whether you feel like physicians need more support from the public sector.
Yeah, doctors can't do their job if they're scared. We learned that during the pandemic. It compromises our integrity and our ability to move forward the plan that's unbiased. And for those of you who don't know about the SHIELD law, we need to be protected from litigation so we can do our job effectively. And right now, we not only need to protect our doctors with laws like those, we need to protect our patients. Manhattan's about to lose its only Planned Parenthood hub on Bleecker Street, and we need to ensure that those services are still rendered accessible to all of our Manhattanites. They don't have to cross a bridge to get there. And therefore, I want to increase the access by partnering with urgent care centers all around Manhattan to provide Planned Parenthood services, because you can't hit a moving target. That way we can protect our doctors, we can protect our patients, we can protect the health of all New Yorkers.
Okay, thank you very much, candidates. Well, let's move on to our third topic of tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about affordability. New York 1 has reported that earlier this year, the borough's median rent reached $4,500 a month. It's a record high. What is driving prices so high, in your opinion, and what would you do about it as borough president? Let's start with you.
Well, certainly scarcity. Just look at, you know, the economics of the situation. We have to build more housing. We have to build more affordable housing. But we have a scarcity issue in Manhattan. Look, over 30% of New Yorkers are paying more than half of their income in rent. That is a housing emergency, if I've ever heard one. The borough president needs to use every tool. Mark Levine, the current borough president, has identified locations where he can build 70,000 new units of affordable housing. There's a plan called the Manhattan Plan to lean into midtown commercial buildings to build more affordable housing. We could perhaps gain 100,000 units in that regard. But I want to talk about something else. The city and state need to have skin in the game like they had in previous decades. I want the city and state to bond for affordable housing, to actually use their borrowing authority to create affordable housing for all New Yorkers in Manhattan. Look, in Albany, there was a vote to bond for a stadium. I voted against it. If we can bond for stadiums, we should be bonding for affordable housing.
Okay, Mr. Sun.
Housing is health, and we have a crisis in mass casualty in housing, and we need to increase supply, period. And empty commercial real estate has only doubled in the last 5 years, 10 to 20%. Residential vacancy rates has dropped to 1.4%. Do the math. The resources are there, just not the political will to use it. So let's expedite the conversion of empty commercial real estate to truly affordable housing, but also do phased construction so that we also, far away from residential zones, the empty commercial real estate that we already identified, to transition into supportive and transitional housing, because we are all one hospital bill, medical scare, and job loss away from becoming unhoused ourselves. So it's not just taking care of our most vulnerable, it's taking care of all of us. So if you have a roof over your head, you're paired with on-site job training, recruitment, and social services. So immediately within months, you're on a pathway to stability and becoming tax-paying, rent-paying New Yorkers within months, which revenue we can generate back and reinvest back into increasing more housing and then decreasing the cost for all New Yorkers.
Okay, Mr. Powers.
Thank you. Look, this is my story in New York City. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, and I grew up in Stuyvesant Town, which was a bastion of middle-class housing that was lost due to deregulation and evictions and bad practices. We also have a sort of history here in Manhattan of elected officials, communities stopping projects that would deliver really good housing and meaningful, affordable housing, basically shutting people out of the American dream, the New York dream, and the opportunity here. My plan on housing is crystal clear. It's on my website. We got to build 100,000 new homes. That's doubling our capacity for new housing in the borough. We have to activate new sites. We can use public libraries and other publicly owned spaces to redevelop and build housing on top of them. We can rezone corridors like Midtown South in my district. I've come forward with Councilmember Bottcher and Borough President Mark Levine to say yes to doing a bold plan around office conversions. We can stop the parochial politics that constantly say no to even just a modest growth in our borough. And we should hire a tenant to be the next borough president. I'm a rent-stabilized tenant. I understand the experience of the rent guidelines board increases or what the next month's rent may look like. This shouldn't be a borough for millionaires. It should be for the middle class, and that's what I've been fighting for in the council and as borough president.
Okay, candidates, it is time for our lightning round. Each candidate will answer my questions with a brief response, generally yes or no. Mr. Sun, your favorite restaurant in the borough?
They used to call it Chicken and Rice on 53rd and 6th, but they rebranded to the Halal Guys. It's still great, but I still want to go to the OG spot.
Okay.
That is a great one. I'm a fan of El Parador Cafe. It's in my district, right on the border of my district. It's a good neighborhood spot. Great food.
Okay.
I like Jean's. It's in the Village. It's been there for over 100 years. Good steak, good cocktails.
Okay. Mr. Powers, what was the last bus that you rode? I think you told us.
I took the M14 on the busway that I supported on the way here, and I'm riding everyone in the whole borough as part of my campaign.
Okay.
M3.
M3.
M8.
M8. Okay. Mr. Hoylman-Siegel, do you support more bike lanes in the borough?
Yes, I do. I'm an ardent cyclist. Actually, I took a city bike here, for the record.
Oh, okay.
Harden them. Make more of them. Well, yeah, biking's good for your health.
I do, yes, and I ride on a city bike.
Mr. Sun, who are you ranking first on your ballot for mayor?
Oh, it's 30 days away, so it's going to be a... You know what I'm not going to rank first? If you're accused of sexual assault or killing my nursing home patients and sending them back with COVID or a bunch of other things. So thank God for 30 days left.
I'm writing in jail in Brunson. That's my vote.
Okay.
Focused on this race and got 30 days to figure it out.
Okay. Do you compost, Mr. Hoylman-Siegel?
I do. Not only do I compost, but my 7-year-old composts, and she's getting really good at it, but it's kind of messy.
Okay. I'm going to get in trouble for this. My wife is a master composter certified by the Department of Sanitation, so we make composting a date night idea.
Oh, boy.
I was the champion of composting in the city council. We formed the composting caucus with then Councilmember Antonio Reynoso, and we passed a Zero Waste Act in the city council, which expands it to every neighborhood.
Well, you know what? On a related note, should trash be containerized in Manhattan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my 50 ideas in 50 days. Containerize it and put it in every neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I think we, credit to Councilmember Abreu for getting that launched in Northern Manhattan.
Okay, yeah, I would vaporize it if I could.
Okay. Mr. Sun, what is your go-to bagel order?
Toasted everything bagel with butter.
Okay.
Oh, that's a bagel, buttered everything bagel.
Oh, I don't toast.
No toast.
There's some people who say don't toast, but I would say cream cheese and cucumber.
Oh, boy. Okay, very interesting. Do you support a rent freeze?
Yes, 100%.
Rent freeze?
I do.
Yes.
Rent freeze? Rent freeze is all around.
I'm a tenant. I got to support us.
Okay, fair enough. Well, look, thank you very much, gentlemen. That is going to do it for this debate and for tonight's show. If you missed any part of it, you can head to NY1.com or the Spectrum News app. And don't forget to tune in to the rest of our debates, including one for Brooklyn Borough President. That'll be next Tuesday. And then the following week, New York 1 will host a debate in the race for City Controller. On June 12th, the 7 leading candidates for mayor will square off. Thanks so much for watching and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
If it's the theater you love, then we've got just the ticket. On Stage is your all-access pass to Broadway, off-Broadway, and the best live entertainment in the city. The interviews and backstage exclusives. All that's made On Stage the go-to source for entertainment for over 20 years. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for On Stage. Also available on the Spectrum News app. I'll see you at the theater, exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, we have internet. Easy.
It is all coming together.
When's the mattress coming?
Friday.
Plumber?
Tuesday. Curtains?
Next week.
This is nice.
This is nice. It's all coming together.
Connect first, unpack later. Set up in minutes with self-install from Spectrum.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York 1 since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York 1 at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York 1.
It's 8 o'clock. 1-800-GOT-JUNK for home or office. We make junk disappear.
This is New York Tonight. Here's what we're covering this hour. A frantic search for a 15-year-old girl who apparently jumped into the East River for a swim off Roosevelt Island. Noreen Kawaja standing by. Another legal victory for the president. The U.S. Supreme Court now says the Trump administration can revoke temporary protected status for some 500,000 immigrants. And would President Trump pardon Diddy? What he said in the Oval Office about the high-profile trial today. Plus, John has the weekend forecast.
Yeah, we're tracking Saturday showers. We're going to tell you when the rain dries up and the sun comes back.
All that and more happening now on New York Tonight. Hey, thanks for being here with us as we wrap up another week together. I'm Cheryl Wills, and we begin this Friday night on Roosevelt Island, the desperate search for a 15-year-old girl. Officials believe she jumped into the East River for a swim with her friends watching. They haven't seen her since. Tonight, Noreen Kawaja on the scene leading us off. Good evening, Noreen.
Good evening, Cheryl. Yeah, you know, we just celebrated Memorial Day earlier this week, which of course marks the unofficial start of the summer season. And now a 15-year-old girl, as you mentioned, has gone missing in the East River behind me off of Roosevelt Island. And of course, all of this is raising concerns about swimming safety in the city. And when it comes to these search efforts, divers with the NYPD's Harbor Unit were out searching the waters this afternoon, and they were supporting